Home warranties are kind of like when you get something in your eye and it drives you crazy because it hurts just enough that you constantly have to think about it, but you can't quite get to it. You have to think first about affordability, affordability, affordability. Sometimes turning over your cards is not the best way to get the best deal. Welcome back, everybody. Today we got a fun one. Today we're talking about the 5 biggest lies, misinterpretations, misunderstandings, myths when it comes to real estate. Today we're going to dive into that. It's going to be fun. One of these I guarantee you have heard probably 1,000 times over the course of your lifetime. It's been decades and decades that people have been saying this. So we're going to get into that. Now, for those of you who don't know, my name is John Trigg. I'm the Montco Realtor, and I sell real estate here in beautiful Montgomery County, PA, just outside of Philly. I cover all the surrounding areas: Bucks County, Berks County, Lehigh County, Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County, and of course, Philadelphia. So if you're ever around, drop me a line. We'll get together. Okay, let's dive into this thing. The buying of real estate without having cash, without having credit. If you watch YouTube and TikTok, you think this is real. They say it all the time. I see these videos all the time. I got this property, XYZ, with no money down. Now, if you listen closely, no money down can be done. There are certain loan products that are no money down loans. However, with every one of those products, you will be responsible for your earnest money deposit, for the cost of the appraisals, for the cost of the inspections, and most often, you're also going to be liable for the closing costs. So while you might have a no money down loan, you still have plenty of money to be putting down into the transaction. Whenever you see these things, if you're watching YouTube and you're watching TikTok to get secrets and ideas about buying, selling, renting, investing in real estate, make sure you're watching it from a real estate professional, not from somebody who's trying to sell you a course on how to do it. 9 times out of 10, their course is bogus. It doesn't work. And if you try it, all you're going to do is spend a lot of money and waste a lot of time. Getting a home warranty. This is home warranties for me as a realtor. Home warranties are kind of like when you get something in your eye and it drives you crazy, but you can't quite get to it. That's what a home warranty is in my book. I have yet to ever find a company that makes it easy for the homeowner to actually utilize the warranty. So if you're going to get a home warranty, if you and your agent have talked about it, if it's something you just feel very strongly for, make sure you get a copy of the contract in full and read the fine print. Very often what you'll find is that there are maximum payouts on various items within the home. There's also sometimes there's language in there that dictates that if certain things happen that are considered normal wear and tear, then they don't actually have to cover anything. Or depending on how it was installed, if it wasn't installed by a proper licensed, authorized, bonded, insured, et cetera, then they don't have to pay anything at all.
Are you kidding me?
They have so many loopholes, so many ways to make it difficult for you to actually use that warranty. Hire an attorney and have an attorney go through it with you. It'll cost you a couple $100, but honestly, what you'll save in headaches and stresses later on down the road, it's money well spent. The escalation clause. This is another big one. I understand in theory why a lot of agents really like this, but I'm going to give you the pros and cons and see what you think afterwards. Now, the idea of the escalation is to ensure that you only put up enough money to beat the offer that would have beaten you in order for you to lock down the house. But here's the problem with that. Sellers, once they know how much you're willing to spend, they typically want you to spend that. So let's say that the house is listed for $400,000 and you talk to a listing agent and the listing agent says, listen, we've got 6 offers. Every one of them is for over the listing price. I'm going to use an escalation clause, which means that I will offer up to, let's say, $425,000 in $1,000 jumps over and above the highest offer to a maximum of $425,000, but not to exceed it. Now, if the other offers come in at $412,000, $415,000, $417,000, then the highest number that you'd be responsible for would be $1,000 over that, or $418,000. Sellers, when they know they can get a little bit more money, they typically want it.
Hello, I like money.
So put yourself in a seller's position. You have a buyer who's coming to you and saying, I'm willing to spend $425,000, but I only want to spend $1,000 more than the highest offer so I can secure the property and try to save a couple dollars on the backside. For some sellers, they may be great with it. I've actually had some of those sellers, but I've also had sellers who have come to me and said, can we counter at their maximum? Because we know they're willing to go here. So why don't we counter and say, get rid of the escalation clause, come in at the full $425,000 and you win. So in that instance, sometimes turning over your cards is not the best way to get the best deal. All right, I love this one. The first offer is your best offer. I can't tell you how many times I heard that when I first got my license and I was working with mentors, how many times they would say to me, when you have a listing, make sure you know your first offer, that's your best offer. Convince your clients to accept the offer, because after that, they tend to go downhill. This is one of those things where maybe back 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, when the market was very different, maybe that was true back then. In today's market, the first offer is the way you get your other offers up higher, because when the first offer comes in, almost every agent does the same thing. They call every agent, they say, hey, I've got an offer in hand. It's a very strong offer. You're going to have to come and really bring your best if you want to secure this house. So that first offer becomes the catalyst to all the other ones jumping up in value. All right, location, location, location. 40 or 50 years ago, that was actually really true. Back when I was a kid, 70s and 80s, the basic area, every neighborhood was very similarly priced. When people were looking to move back then, they could move based on proximity to a school or their job or family and friends. They would pick out a location that worked, and there was always enough houses for them to find one they like. Well, today's market, the mid-2020s, isn't like that anymore. When you go on any given block, there could be a whole row of houses that are $300,000. And then you'll hit one that's $425,000 because they did some upgrades inside and somebody's willing to pay $425,000 to get it. So it's not as easy as it used to be to just say, I want to be in this neighborhood because this is close to the things that I really, really like. In today's market, you have to think first about affordability, affordability, affordability. What can you afford? And then we look and we build into that some of the locations that fit within that metric to find you the right property, the most ideal property that still offers you the services or the availability of things that are going to make you happy when you ultimately decide to purchase. But that's what happens when real estate goes crazy. Prices just go haywire, and that's what we've seen. I hope this gave you guys a little bit of information. I hope it was interesting for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm John Trigg, the Montco Realtor, and I will see you next time.